Hello everybody, welcome to this video. My name is Erika Fonseca. I'm studying to be English teacher and my UTPL center is in Puy. In this video we're going to talk about grammatical functions and we're going to focus in the object. The object of a sentence normally comes after the verb phrase and it always is part of the predicate. An object is part of a sentence that gives meaning to the subject action of the verb. In the sentence can be one object or more than one object. Here we have some examples. Erika wrote the song. Erika is the subject, wrote is the verb, and the song is the object. He bought his son a bike. He is the subject, bought is the verb, his son is the indirect object, and a bike is the direct object. In the next pages, we're going to know how to identify the type of objects. We have three types of objects: direct, indirect, and oblique object. First, we're going to talk about the direct object. Here we have some tips of how identify the direct object. A direct object answers the question of who or what. In grammar, the direct object of transitive verb of a noun group which refers to someone or something directly affected by or involved in the action performed by the subject. For example, Marco repaired his car. His car is the direct object of the verb. Because we can do the question, what did Marco repair? And the answer is his car. So his car is the direct object because it's answering the question what. Next example we have, she saw them yesterday. Them is the direct object because we do the question, who did she saw yesterday? And the answer is them. Here we have some tips to teach direct objects. One tip is using flashcards and the other tip is complete a sentence in the Blackboard in the class. For example, we can use flashcards. We can separate one sentence in three parts. Here we have, he gave his teacher an apple. The student has to match the words and make one sentence. After that, the student has to identify the direct object, making the question, what did he give to his teacher? And the answer is an apple. So an apple is the direct object. The next example is, I give you the money. The question is, what did I give you? And the answer is the money. So the money is the direct object. Now we have the next tip. Complete a sentence in the Blackboard. So the teacher is going to give the students some keywords, and the teacher is going to write some sentences in the Blackboard, and the student has to complete. For example, Juan caught some, and the student has to fish with the correct word and fishes. Mom ate cookies. Fernando broke the vase. All these sentences answer the questions of what. For example, what did Fernando broke? And the answer is the vase. So the vase is the direct object. Now we have indirect object. An indirect object answers the questions to whom, and for what. Okay? An indirect object is the recipient of the direct object or otherwise affected by participant in the event. There must be a direct object for an indirect object to be replaced in the sentence. In other words, an indirect object cannot exist without a direct object. Okay? For example, they sent him a postcard. Him is the indirect object because it answered the question. To whom did they send a postcard? And the question is to him. Okay, so him is the indirect object. Here we have some tips to teach indirect object. One tip is find the indirect object in the poem, and another tip is find the indirect object in the letter soup. Here we have some phrases of the poem. Sometimes the short poems are the hardest to write, change one word and the whole poem avocados. Whole poem is the indirect object because it answered the questions of what. Find the indirect object in the letter soup. I find a car for me. Here we have me like a indirect object. The dog is for my nephew. Here we have nephew like indirect object, and the bag is for her. All these words are indirect objects. Now we have oblique object. The oblique object is a complement for a preposition. The oblique object is a noun phrase, is directly dominated by a preposition phrase. All these are tips to identify the oblique object. For example, she was bitten by a spider. So by spider is the oblique object. He gave a paper to me. Paper is the direct object and me is the oblique. Tips to teach oblique object. Use brainstorms to make a sentence with an oblique object and watch a video of some sentence and identify the oblique object. Use brainstorm. So the student has to use the brainstorm and make a free write. And after that has to identify the oblique object that he or she writes. For example, those in my mind. I am outsmarted by my thoughts. By my thoughts is the oblique object. In the next tip, the student can watch a video, and after that, the students can work in pairs and write a sentence and identify the oblique object. All this information I found in these sources, and that's all for today. Thank you so much. See you next time.